Civic centers have been established in 13 public universities across 8 states, and more are coming. These civic centers can revive the humanities. They will revive the humanities, and this needs to happen because the humanities are in trouble. Vocational, skills-based, technological training are in demand. Majors in STEM fields attract students because students think these majors serve as a ticket to a stable job and a good salary. And universities direct students toward these majors because universities are judged based on how many of their graduates are employed after they pass through their institution and how much money they make. We see these trends away from the humanities and toward the sciences continue apace when schools like Tulsa cut its honors program, when the University of Chicago, because of its heavy investments in scientific research, in new technologies and new startups, begins to gut its once renowned humanities offerings. Some academics, even in the humanities, cheer on these trends. One, for example, who has wrongly predicted that the civic centers will fail, contends that AI might well be the best teacher for general education courses. By enlisting AI as a general education teacher, universities can cut costs, use financial gains to fund laboratories, and train faculty to develop expertise in feeding prompts into AI models. This is an emaciated vision of the humanities and of the university. It is one reason among several why the number of Americans expressing no confidence in U.S. higher education has more than doubled in the last 10 years. Now, universities must attend to the practical needs of a dynamic, scientific, technological order such as ours. It is necessary, but it is not everything. If we are to revive the humanities, we must remember what the humanities are. We must distinguish the humanities from the natural and social sciences, and we must restore a prominent and privileged place to the humanities in our universities. And civic centers can help us do just that. So what are the humanities? What are they for? The humanities concern the permanent things, those questions that we humans cannot help but ask about life's meaning and purpose, about our origin and destiny, about the nature of reality. It is through the humanities, the study of philosophy, theology, rhetoric, history, that we educate our humanity. It is through the humanities that we become wise. It is through the humanities that we learn what it means to be excellent intellectually and morally, what it means to perfect our capacity for mental and practical activity. Insofar as human nature is unchanging, we can consult a fund of masterworks to guide and improve our thought and action. We can learn under the tutelage of this fund of masterworks from the best of Greek, Roman, and Christian civilization. And this is where enculturation happens. This is where education happens, the passing on of a tradition of thought and a way of life. The humanities provide us with a link, stretching back into the past, a shared past, stretching upward toward a universal and transcendent truth, and stretching beyond us toward a shared future. There is continuity in humanistic education. There's no continuity in scientific education. The sciences are dynamic, changing, progressive. Scientific methods are designed to discover the laws of nature and of society and to develop technologies to exert control over nature and society. Such studies are useful. They foster health and material welfare, without which the good life cannot be lived. But such studies cannot tell us what the good life is. In the natural and social sciences, change is the norm. One hypothesis takes over another. New methods, new discoveries, new information are all acquired and dispersed. Old ways of thought are challenged and unsettled. The natural and social sciences alone are progressive forces that foster a progressive mindset and form a progressive civilization. They cannot be left alone. They must be accompanied by, shored up by, and informed by the permanent things, by the historical and philosophical continuity provided by the humanities when done well, as they should be done well and will be done well in these civic centers. There's no way you can have a national conservative university and skimp on the permanent things, devoting yourself entirely to the dynamic, open, progressive, utilitarian aspects of a scientific education. This will leave you with a dynamic, open, progressive, utilitarian society with no piety, with no knowledge of or appreciation for one's heritage, namely one's Western and American heritage. This will leave you with an uneducated population. An educated person is one who has been given a liberal education. This kind of education is prior to education in science and technology because it teaches us how to use science and technology properly. It offers a fixed standpoint from which to judge that which is always changing. Liberal education is education fit for a free person, one who finds his or her freedom in submission to the proper authority, namely reason. Now, these civic centers can rescue reason and restore its primacy in the university, and in so doing, form good men, good women, and good citizens. To accomplish this, the civic centers should do the following. First and most obviously, the civic centers must develop curricula that expose students to the masters of thought. These masters of thought, as St. John Henry Newman wrote, these masters of thought, they teach us to discriminate between the precious and the vile, beauty and sin, truth and sophistry, what is innocent and what is poison. These masterworks of human thought should be drawn from the fonts of classical civilization, from Greece, Rome, and Jerusalem, from Christian civilization, and from our American tradition. Now, you can't understand America without the West, and you can't understand either without the Hebrew Bible and without Christianity. Any civics and leadership majors that these civic centers offer should be supplemented by majors and minors in Western civilization, in Jewish thought, and in Christian thought and culture. Civics alone, while valuable, will give you just one piece of a larger conversation. Bring students into the whole conversation, not just a part of it, because, again, this is what an educated person is, one who can think well about Western history and America and understand his place in it, in that broad, colorful history that is his patrimony. Now, I'll brag on the Hamilton School of Classical and Civic Education at the University of Florida for a moment. We offer majors in great books and ideas, philosophy, politics, economics and law, American government, history, literature and law, and war, statecraft, and strategy. These are interdisciplinary majors. And we plan to offer a minor in Christian thought and culture, and we do offer a program in Jewish classical education. Hamilton School graduates will be educated people. We focus not only on civics, but also on the classics, and that is essential. The Hamilton School also plans to launch a master's and PhD in the history of ideas. Graduates from these programs will be highly sought after to fill open faculty positions at new civic centers that are popping up. And they'll also be in demand to teach at K-12 schools, particularly classical schools across the country. We need great teachers, and this is the place to educate them. Aspiring teachers should not go to colleges of education, they should go to the civic centers. Now, second, a great curriculum with fitting majors and minors, that's great. But an educated person does not simply take a set of classes and receive a diploma. That's not enough. Students at these civic centers must be formed not only in the classroom, but also in the hallways, in the corridors, in the faculty offices, in student clubs. Faculty must invest in their students, starting and sponsoring oratorical societies, Greek and Latin reading groups, philosophy and theology reading groups, poetry recitation nights, classical cinema viewing, study abroad trips to Oxford. There should be classical music and classical art in the shared spaces of these civic centers, where students and faculty can spontaneously gather. And this is central to our mission and vision at the Hamilton School, to create these beautiful shared spaces for our faculty and students to interact, for faculty to mentor students, for handing on not only ideas, but rituals, traditions, and habits that are firmly tethered to our Western and American heritage, of which we are immensely proud. Thanks to the investment of the state and of the university, thanks to the support of Governor Ron DeSantis, of the Board of Governors, of the Board of Trustees, and private donors. Because of their support, the University of Florida is renovating a space, and we're going to have a beautiful space that will be bubbling with intellectual and social life. That will be home to future local, state, and national leaders. It will be a veritable Oxford in the swamp. Go Gators. Now, third, in addition to curriculum and majors, in addition to buildings, spaces, and clubs for student activities and mentorship, we need to think about recruiting and retaining world-class faculty. To do so, however, we might need to get creative, granting tenure and promotion not only for specialized research, but also for popular writing and public service. Specialized academic research is important. We want professors who are masters of the masters of thought, who are knowledgeable, who can train students in intellectual excellence. But we also want professors who are good men and women, who can serve as models of excellence inside and outside the classroom. We need professors who can talk about liberal education to business leaders, to civic leaders, to parents. And we need them to be confident that doing so will help, not hurt, their case for tenure. We need professors who can enliven public conversation through op-eds and through writing intended for a broader reading public, and who can be confident that doing so will help, not hurt, their case for tenure. Specialized research has a place, but it deserves a smaller place than it has been given. Fourth, after curriculum and majors, buildings, spaces, and clubs, proper standards for recruiting and retaining world-class faculty, universities should do all they can to funnel general education through these civic centers. Make these civic centers a privileged place for the study of permanent things, a place for the education of our humanity, not the expression of our individuality, a place for contemplation, not activism, a place of solidarity and virtue, devoted, as were universities of the past, to the glory of God and to the better ordering of ourselves and our communities. A conservative haven where we can invest in and regain our hope in the continuation of our Western and American heritage. John Dewey, the early 20th century educational reformer, tried to flatten university education, to stamp out the hierarchy between student and teacher, between student and civilizational wisdom. The civic centers can serve as new hubs for reforms in higher education to correct Dewey's mistakes. With adequate support, we can serve as the leaven of the university, enriching, expanding, and elevating the educational experience and restoring the hierarchy between student and teacher, between student and civilizational wisdom, and restoring the most important hierarchy of all, the hierarchy of reason, or logos, overall. And this is how you revive the humanities and restore trust in the university. And you can look at the Hamilton School at the University of Florida as a model. I call on governors, state legislators, and university leaders to grow and protect these new civic centers. Again, the state of Florida has been exemplary in this regard. It is undoubtedly the leader in education reform. It is a model. Most humanities programs aren't dying, they're already dead. And the civic centers are arising just in time. And these civic centers are the new houses of the humanities. They're built on piety, love of one's country, and one's civilizational heritage. They're built on truth and goodness, the proper objects of the intellect and the will. And these centers for classical and civic thought will be the foundations on which we can reinvigorate our country's great project of self-government. Now's the time to build. Thank you.